A lack of sight is not a lack of vision. The white cane is independence, a symbol of ability, not disability. Today we are at the annual conference for the Canadian Council of the Blind at the Beach Club Resort in Parksville, and we are talking about vision, vision loss, and blindness today. On today's show, highlights from the first weekend at the Western Canada Cup in Nanaimo, healing through art, and another installment of Clocked. That and more today on Go Island. Today on Go Island, we are sitting in on a small portion of the annual conference from the Canadian Council of the Blind. We're going to talk about some of the myths, some of the things you might think are true but aren't when it comes to vision, vision loss, and blindness. And we're going to talk about mobility in the way of guide dogs and the white canes. Did you know that they were first invented in 1921 by a doctor who lost his sight because of an accident and painted the cane white as a way to be seen better at night? And in many of the provinces now, it is legislated that you can only use a white cane if indeed you are short on vision or blind. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. The inaugural Western Canada Cup is now underway in Nanaimo. Here's Matt Carter with a highlight from this weekend's events and where the Nanaimo Clippers stand after 2 games. The Western Canada Cup is ongoing right here in Nanaimo until May the 5th. We'll have some more highlights for you and some highlights from the final game that takes place on May the 5th. You can watch for that in future editions of Go Island. This is Bill Conway, and Bill is blind?
Yes.
How long have you been blind?
53 years.
And is that all your life?
No, I'm still alive.
And who's this with you?
This is Captain Midnight. He's my 7th pair of eyes.
7th pair of eyes?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I have to retire a dog every once in a while, and I go get a new dog. And every dog has to be, sometimes is a different color. A black lab, yellow lab, German shepherd, a golden retriever. I won't get a French poodle, but it could be a French poodle, right, which are normally white or black.
And what does he allow you to do that you wouldn't be able to do on your own?
I have complete independence. I don't run into corners or poles or fire hydrants or cement blocks or benches.
I've had an opportunity to talk with some blind people who prefer to navigate through life without a guide dog, using the talking GPS and other assistive devices. But the dogs work for you.
Correct. When I travel abroad, and I do a lot of traveling, I carry a GPS out with me and my dog. So I know the direction I'm going, I know the street I'm on. I can direct the dog to a street, right, just by the GPS, because for example, we've never been here in Parksville in our lives. It's our first venture here. We've never even been on the Nanaimo Ferry before.
Well, welcome.
So it's all new to him.
I just want to pet him. I won't, but I just want to pet him.
What I tell people is, unfortunately, you have to tie your hands behind your back. And I won't put handcuffs on you. And we also ask that most people, like when I go into a restaurant, they say, oh, here's a steak for the dog. Oh, yeah. Or a piece of hamburger. Yeah. Or here's some eggs. And I says, I'm sorry, I thank you, but no, thank you, not today.
Bill, thank you very much. We're going to talk more about...
I appreciate it, Kate.
We're going to talk more about mobility through the use of a cane later on this edition of Go Island. In the meantime, it's a topic that a lot of people are very uncomfortable talking about, suicide. But at the University of Victoria, there is one artist who is using her art to heal and share the story of a suicide that was very close to her. Here's Nikki Iwanishin. That was a great story. Thank you, Nikki. It brought tears to my eyes, almost. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen. This is Lori Fry with the Canadian Council of the Blind. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's
Kate.
right. Now, we were talking about how you're blind, which is one of the myths that you have no vision, because you do have a little bit of vision.
I do, Kate. I have a little bit, I call about 2% of what normal 20/20 would be.
Okay, so what can you see right now in the interaction that we're having and the camera there and everything?
Well, that's a tricky question, because a lot of times, certainly the myth being that most people are, if you're labeled blind, that means
right,
you have no sight. And 90% of visually impaired or blind Canadians have some sight of some sort. So to answer your question more directly, what I see is, I often want to say to everybody, I see almost everything, but with a lot of distortion and with a lot of delay. The standard conception of blindness is just that. Either you see everything or you see nothing. And if somebody says, well, you're blind, all you see is black, not necessarily true, because there's some people that just have light perception. So all they, I almost wanted to close my eyes there to show you. But where you can, you sort of, it's like opaque, I guess. There's some light, but you see no objects or anything. So there really is a wide range. And I think the importance is...
different for everybody.
It's different for everybody, yeah.
One of the things I heard you say was mastering the art of blindness. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, Kate, I just came up with that phrase recently, and I think it's because as I learned to master the art of blindness, it's a skill. It's learning to adapt. There's many phases of vision loss as well, unless somebody, due to an extreme situation is blinded instantly. And honestly, that does happen. People go to bed at night and sometimes wake up blind due to certain eye diseases and conditions.
Using the word art, I get the sense of a finesse and an embracing and almost, dare I say, appreciation of navigating the world with very limited vision.
Absolutely. I think how I came up with that term is admiring and watching those in the blind community that are ahead of me in this particular area of life. Yeah. Their vision has worsened quicker than mine, and they've taken those steps. And we do have to look at those individuals and admire what they have accomplished. So again, by learning that and watching that, I say if we can navigate with dignity and grace, it's much more accommodating to our souls, or I say my inner peace, rather than being a fumbling idiot, So,
yeah.
So I do believe, like I said, as I watch my peers in the blind community, if you have to learn to be blind. If you can imagine, you're just not going to be able to wake up one morning and just decide, okay, well, I'm just going to march on down to 7-Eleven, blind or not.
Not that easy.
And you can do it, but you should learn it and master the art of it.
Lori, thank you. You're inspiring.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for the time.
We'll be back with more from the annual conference of the Canadian Council of the Blind after a short break here on Go. Still ahead today on Go Island, coming together through music with Corefest in Nanaimo. And are the boys up for the challenge? It's a new edition of Clocked. That and more still ahead today on Go. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Nanaimo Sings is a partnership comprised of about 14 different choral groups from Nanaimo and the surrounding areas. And we had a chance to pop into a rehearsal recently. They're preparing for a big event in Nanaimo coming up later in May. That was Nanaimo Sings, a partnership of 14 different choral groups from the central Vancouver Island region, and they're working on presenting Corefest. It's coming to Nanaimo May 17th to 19th at the Vancouver Island Conference Centre, and it all culminates in a public performance at the Port Theatre on May the 19th at 2:30 in the afternoon. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Now, I didn't know until today that there are 3 different kinds of blind and visually impaired canes. These two, this one is kind of obvious. It's for if you have some mobility issues as well as some vision issues. You could be fully blind or just partially blind if you're using one of these, but you might need it for support. You do need it for support. This one and this one, this one is more to let other people know that the user is having some vision impairments and to use extra caution and maybe provide some assistance, but just to let the people around them know. Whereas this one is for the user themselves. Albert Ruel, who you may have seen on the channel last week, says it's an extension of his index finger. So it really tells him where he is, what might be in his way, and whether there are stairs or curbs or everything. So this is definitely for the user, this is for those around them, and this is for someone who also needs help with just getting their bodies around. I think that explains it all. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen, and it's time now for what is quickly becoming one of my favorite new features here on Go. We call it Clocked. We give Derek Johnstone and Todd Jones 1 hour real time to go out and meet a challenge that I write. and I think we're at about 3 for 1. They've won 3 times. I've only won once, which means we've only stumped them once, and they're getting pretty cocky in their confidence, if I do say so. So let's see if we can stump them this time. Here's Clocked. Okay, I'll give it to you guys. It's a tie. 1 tie, 1 win for me, 3 wins for you. Things are going to change. Next time, you guys are going down and you're going to lose. I almost guarantee it. That's the end of this edition of Go Island. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.